Welcome everybody. I want to thank everyone who is currently attending virtually, as well as anyone who virtually attended any of our early sessions. Welcome to what is the fifth in our series of construction careers Q&A sessions. I want to thank as well all of our program partners for their support in making this initiative possible. And I want to thank our team here at CANS as well for their support, and certainly all of our members, one of whom we're going to get a chance to speak to in a moment here. I should introduce myself for those I don't know. Again, my name is Alain Lefebvre, and I'm the Manager of Workforce Programs for the Construction Association in Nova Scotia. As explained, the purpose of these sessions is to allow students, teachers, educators, anyone really who's interested to explore careers in construction from the safety of their own homes or offices. And even more importantly, from my perspective, to give us and to give you the opportunity to ask questions and hear directly from industry professionals themselves who have boots on the ground and have experience that can't quite be found just by Googling certain jobs and certain occupations. So again, some quick virtual housekeeping. It is a question and answer format. Myself, as well as the Building Futures team, we have prepared a number of questions for Jessica. We also did receive some in advance. But as always, I encourage anyone who's watching this to please submit any questions you have during the session by using the Q&A function that you should see on the bottom of your screen. I'm the only one who can see that. I will be monitoring that closely, and I'll make sure I don't miss anyone and we get all of your questions asked. I will mention as well, once again, that these sessions are also being recorded and are available for on-demand viewing at our website, which is www.buildingfutures.ca, as well as on the Nova Scotia Department of Education and Early Childhood Development YouTube channel. So you can go on there at any time and on demand learn about these careers and see these interviews as well. Once again, from an IT perspective, we've been very, very fortunate throughout all these sessions to not run into any hiccups. And everything seems pretty smooth so far, but should we run into any hiccups, by all means, please bear with us and we'll do our best to get back up and running as quickly as possible and remain as professional as can be. So again, each one of these sessions, each one of these interviews focuses on not only a specific industry professional, but also on a career or a construction industry occupation. And I'm really, really pleased. I'm thrilled, in fact, to have our guest with us here today. And I will introduce right now our guest is Jessica McLean. Jessica is an engineer as well as a project manager for Bird Construction. Bird Construction being a CANS member and a big supporter of CANS as well as all of our programs, including Building Futures for Youth. So thank you very much for joining us today, Jessica. Really glad to have you.
Oh, thanks. Hi.
So quickly to start us off, Jessica, can you tell us kind of in your words, in your experience, what is a construction project manager?
So construction project manager, I manage construction projects in the title, like it's very well descriptive. So my natural role, I do most days on most projects, is I receive a project from our estimating department. I don't know if you've had a chance to interview an estimator.
Nope, we've got one coming up.
Oh, wonderful. So you'll learn more about that there too. So we have a great team here at Bird. So day one, I get a new project from that department, and it's my job to take that from start. And it could be anything. We built lots of different things. And I work on that until it's complete and the client is moved in and happy and using the space. And then we manage it through a warranty period, that too. So what that typically looks like is hiring all of the trade contractors that we work with, working with our consultants, answering questions throughout the project and managing the schedule, the budget for ourselves on that too, and for clients, and making sure everything is done safely. We have a huge part in that as well, planning the work properly so it can be done safely and effectively, efficiently. That's the simplified version of it. It is a full-time job to do all that. And we typically handle a couple projects at a time, depending on how big they are. So big ones that for me right now, I just finished up a new office for Stewart McKelvey law firm. They just moved into the big Queen's Mark development down on the waterfront. So they're very happy to move in there. They're gorgeous.
Okay.
So that was a great one. We worked on that for just over a year. And that actually had an interesting component. That's another part of my project management title as well. We often work with clients too to take them through design phase. So not just building, but also having an input on design of projects as well.
Okay, interesting. Is that something that you guys do with a lot of the projects that you work on?
Yeah, actually, you'd be surprised. I worry sometimes people don't know that we do that as much as we do. I just finished one for a client who is thinking of a new production plant. So they brought us in early to work with the consultants and make it as constructible and as efficient as possible. And there was a number of ways we were able to help them to change details or change the strategy of a building so that it would be more cost effective and we could build it faster for them.
Oh, that's very cool. You just alluded to it a little bit already, but can you tell us a little bit about Bird Construction Group, about the type of work that they do?
Well, Bird is bigger than Nova Scotia, and I personally forget that quite often as well. We're across the country. We have branches in most major cities in Canada, coast to coast, and we do actually a lot of remote north work as well. An example of that would be a recreational facility we're building up in Iqaluit, and we're doing that with modules. So we're building modular shipping containers and turning them into pieces of a hotel there too. We're building them in China and shipping them to Iqaluit from our facility there, receiving them and building it. That's like as far out of what we do on this side, I think. And then all the way across, hospitals, schools, lots of, community projects we do across the country. And then right here to Nova Scotia, where we're building the Queen's Mark facility on the waterfront too. And again, we do that through design development. We have our full estimating staff and our design input team here. We have done a full operations group as well who execute all that work and figure it all out.
Interesting. Now, do you get a chance to go work on any of the projects outside of Nova Scotia?
Yeah. So I have been pretty lucky to date. I call it lucky, but depending what you're looking for. Most of my projects have been in Halifax. So for construction, you typically have opportunities to build anywhere that we're building. We're looking at, we do a lot of work at St. FX, Nantigonish. So you can consider that traveling. That'd be one likely example. Yeah, we're thinking of, how we're going to have people work on our new Ottawa project. We're building light rail facilities for their train system that they're setting up for the city of Ottawa. So there's the opportunity for that too. And we have people who have moved across the country for different reasons outside of just the work that we have, and you can kind of work anywhere if you can do this, right?
Very cool. I'm curious, Jessica, and because, of this being intended in a lot of ways for students who are kind of going through the process of looking at their career path and what they want to do, did you have any idea when you were younger, maybe when you were in high school, that you wanted to end up in the construction industry? I
would love to say that I was so prepared my whole life for what we were going to end up. I knew I wanted to be an engineer. I knew that, but only when I was, getting late in high school. My dad's an engineer, which is the only reason I knew about engineering. And I got to engineering school and learned there what engineers do. So it was kind of a bold move, I think, to just launch into that. But everybody says, get a job in engineering and you will always have a job. So that's mostly true, I think. That's been my experience, but you can do anything with it. And I was already in school when I signed up for the co-op program.
Okay.
I went through Memorial University, and long story short, I had never pictured a position, a place for me in construction. Would have had no idea what that would have looked like, or how the industry works, or what kind of jobs are available in the industry. And that's saying, and my father was in the construction industry as well. So it's kind of funny that way. But when I was in school, my first co-op term came, and I wanted to come home to Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
from Memorial, and the only job posting was with federal government for public works in Dartmouth. They were building a new headquarters for the RCMP, and if anybody's taking their time going through Burnside, I don't know why you spent time there if you're a student, but check it out. It's the H Division headquarters up there off Wright Avenue. You can see it when you're coming down Wright. They hired, so I don't know if I was the only person who interviewed for that. I don't know who would apply to come. But in any case, I applied and got that. And I showed up my first day with no idea what to expect at all, none. And, you know, it's the kind of job, construction is the kind of industry, it just hooks you. Like if you want to do construction, you're going to love it your first day. And that's what happened to me. It was, you know, such a great chance happening. So lucky that happened. I love it. It's so busy and there's people coming and going all the time. You know, things change right in front of you every day. It's great. And yeah, that was, I don't want to like age myself here, but we're pushing 10 years ago from that. And so this whole career for me, and I would never have known it existed before that first day.
Yeah. So. I'm curious because you mentioned the co-op and a lot of the students, a lot of the young people we deal with, they go out and do co-ops. There may even be some out there doing right now who are watching this. You know, what advice would you give to a young person who was out on a co-op placement? Because obviously it was something that you were able to navigate successfully.
Yeah, co-op is a life-changing opportunity for me. And I was on the fence about doing it actually for myself. So if people are thinking about it, if that's the position that you're in, even considering to go into co-op, I think always give the same advice, unless there's other circumstances. If you can, you should. It's such a great opportunity. And if you're doing co-op, I've had a lot of friends who had co-ops that it wasn't a good fit. They did not like it, but they were able to try again. That's the beauty of co-op, is that you're not there forever. It's a short term on purpose, not meant to be, 10 years of your life gone. Great opportunity. If you don't like it, it's a good thing to know, to go and find something else that is going to be a better fit for you. And we've had co-op students through here. I've worked with a couple co-op students, some of who it clicked. Same for me, they catch the construction bug and that's it. And they're full speed ahead. And I've had in that same category people who treated it like a, one-off chance, and they put their heart into it. And I feel like they got so much out of it. And I've had other people who, treated it as minimum requirements for their schooling. And it just personally, I don't think they got the same, experience from the whole thing. So that would be the other thing, is give it a good, honest effort. Try it.
That's fantastic. I'm going to take that clip and we're going to play it for our Building Future students next. Then let
me try it again more eloquently after this, maybe, if you're going to keep it.
I've got a question, Jessica, coming in on the Q&A function, and it's a great question. I've gotten to know through the industry myself a number of project managers, and I know there's different pathways that people can take to becoming a construction project manager. And this person asks, how has your engineering background helped you as a project manager?
Oh, that is a good question. And I'm going to answer from, my perspective, which I have colleagues who have construction management training, or architectural technician, or civil tech background, all of whom have taken a lot out of those programs that wouldn't necessarily be covered in an engineering program. My personal findings is I don't think I'm any better at my job because I'm an engineer, but I almost, this is going to be kind of, you're not going to tell Engineers Nova Scotia that I said any of this,
Absolutely
I hope.
Not. Nope. Pause the recording here just a sec.
There are times that I do wish that if I had known this was going to be my path, that I would have picked a path with more construction technical training, because that is where I started with the gap. But my benefit comes with I have a structural engineering background. That was my training. I have no experience in it because I've been doing construction my whole working life, but very useful to me because I build a lot of structural buildings. So we do a lot of tie-ins. The last time that helped me was with a job we had to retain the existing structure of a building, a steel structure, and we built an addition onto the end of that. And because of my training, that led me to be able to plan it so that we could stage it. And we were actually able to do it quite a lot faster than what we had thought because we were able to be strategic. And I mean, that's one example. And I've been working for 10 years. That comes to mind. And my program was 5 years long. That would be another thing to note is that the technology programs are likely shorter. But my takeaway from it too is that a lot of the co-ops that we hire are engineers. And as I understand it, although I have I have only anecdotal evidence on this, I do believe the pay scale is higher for engineers in this industry.
Good to know. Excellent.
At a certain point, experience trumps that too. And that might be one of your future questions, but that's my understanding of it.
Oh, very cool. Great answer. Can you tell us a bit about, and maybe it's the job you're in now, but what was your first, out of school, completed your co-op, what was your first full-time position or maybe it wasn't even in project management, but in the construction industry?
My first job was actually my favorite job that I've ever had to date, including now, funny enough, but it was with Bird. And when I graduated, my title was project coordinator. And so in the hierarchy of how it would work is that you would start as a project coordinator, you learn and work with a project manager, and then with the idea that as you get more experience, you move up to take on that higher role. So less of the high level planning, the forward thinking, budgeting and things like that. So when I started, my role was to coordinate on a 3-year project that we were building in Halifax for Dalhousie University. So we overhauled their dentistry clinics and their facilities there for them. So huge space there. There's over 100 dental chairs that we ended up installing. It took us a long time to do it, 3 years, but I worked exclusively from site on that job. So with all the trade contractors and all the consultants and everything, I loved it. I just really enjoyed that job. It was a lot of fun. The guys are a lot of fun to work with. And my role now is more of contract management. So a lot more of having, the conflicts with trade contractors instead of just getting things done every day. We're debating who's going to pay for things. And there's fun in that too. But some days I do miss just the, getting things done on site level.
That's interesting. I had a chance to walk through that project actually with the Building Future.
You were there with me. Yeah, we did that.
It was very cool. It was impressive. Yeah. It was eye-opening for a lot of the young people, that's for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Jessica, what would you say, and it can be that position as a coordinator or your current one as a project manager, what's probably the toughest part of your job?
Ooh. I would say the toughest part of my job is the conflict resolution, I would say.
Okay.
I don't think and I wouldn't say that because we're not good at it. I think by the time you've been doing this for 1 year, you've had lots of practice. It used to terrify me, the thought of someone being angry or not being happy with the work that we're doing. That felt awful to me. Now it's a routine every day, in the process of managing our contracts and executing our work properly. There's inevitably going to be people who would prefer that things were done differently or to their benefit or somehow other than we are choosing to do it. And it's just part of the process. And I don't dread it by any means, but I also don't say, oh, I can't wait to have a fight with this person on the phone today. Yeah.
I'm a teddy bear. I'd be horrible at that.
You get cut in so fast. I still remember, so 10 years ago, I still remember my first phone call that my project manager at the time said, you have to make this phone call, and you have to fight our case with this contractor who doesn't want to do what we're paying them to do. And I remember saying, there's no way. there's no way I could call him and say that to him. He'll be so angry. And we worked up to it, and, you know, and it took me like an hour to get brave enough to make that call. And, you know, I don't remember any of the ones after that. So it just becomes standard. So, you know, it is what it is.
So other side of the question, if that's the hardest part, you know, what do you like best about your job and what you do?
Well, yesterday, I would have had a different answer, honestly, last week, because I think every week in this job, you're reminded it can be so wide ranging. A month ago, my favorite part of my job was finishing a project, and, you know, the client moves in and they love it, and they're really excited about their new space, and that feels great because you work like, it is very hard work to get something to that point, and thousands of hours go into that. So it's really rewarding to see that, and I really enjoy that part of it. And not just finishing it, I should say, like any part of it coming together, a detail you've worked on, and you get to see the people build it and what it looks like, and it works at the end, and you had something to do with that, is awesome. Yesterday, and this would be as my role as a project manager, which I had said, you know, I don't always enjoy as much as the coordinator, which I had done before, but I would not have been able to do this as a coordinator, was work with a contractor who is an excellent builder, but wasn't really as savvy on their contract rights and obligations and the rules. And I worked with him yesterday, and, you know, kind of walked him through his contract and what choices he has, and helped him strategize ways to do work properly, you know, using our skill set as a project manager. And when we were done, he said, you know, I never would have been able to get through this. Like, I would never have finished this job, and we would have lost, you know, potentially everything on this large job that we have. And, you know, that feels awesome to know that it's not my favorite part of what I do every day, but, you know, you're learning skills that are really needed in the industry. Sometimes it can feel like you're removed and on a pedestal, you know, in your office, and there's people doing real work. But, you know, those things happen. And then, you know, there's a vital part of our industry that is for this role. And that was great.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
I've got a couple more questions coming in over the Q&A, Jessica. And the first one is, another great question. How important is the skill of multitasking for what you do?
Oh, oh yeah. I've actually been focusing on this talk longer than anything else I've done today, to point. I'm going to answer this. This is kind of interesting. I've had a lot of time to reflect on this for the past year. I am a kind of person, like, I have my phone in my hand all day, and the next person who calls or texts or emails, I'm always on to the next thing. So it feels sometimes like you're putting out fires all the time. But I wouldn't say that is the best practice. Some of the best work that I've done has been when, you know, you put all that away and you focus on one thing at a time. So we have lots of management systems and process, and we teach everyone who comes through here, and everyone will have their own style, but how to set yourself up. So yes, technically you're working on, you know, I've got 4 projects and each of them has 100 issues, yes, but the goal is one thing at a time, most important thing at a time, and moving on to the next thing when it's done. But I will acknowledge that some days it just feels like I went in a circle and didn't move anything forward. You just touched everything. So multitasking, critical, and also terrible. Yeah.
That's another question coming in, and we were chatting about this actually a little bit before we started. What project, or is there a project that you've managed that you think back on now that you would be most proud of, or just very proud of in general?
Well, yeah, I am very proud of the Stuart McKelvey project that we just handed over. That comes to mind. That it's not really a platform for bragging here in any means, but we worked really hard on it for over a year, and we did a lot of the design for that ourselves. And it looks beautiful now. And you walk through, you would never know a contractor drew it. So, you know, I'm really proud of that. And then the other one we're really proud of is that first dentistry job. I was there every day. We built that. And now when I go by, you know, I'm really proud of that one too.
Yeah, that must be really cool, just driving by and, you know, and seeing something like that and being like, I played a significant role in that.
It still is for me, but I am getting to that point now when we drive by something and I say, oh my God, I built that. I forgot about that. Another 10 years and I think it'll be quite terrible. Yeah.
I got another question coming in. This is fantastic. Lots of great questions coming in. This question is, how important have the role of mentors been for you in your career?
Yeah. Enormous. And I think mentorship, yeah, very important. And, every organization that works with anybody who's concerned with the next generation as construction absolutely has to be, already is talking about mentorship. I think my personal experience, as a lady doing this, I'll take that one step further. I've been fortunate enough to have both mentorship and I would say championship on top of that as well. So I've had just very, very fortunate opportunities to work with more experienced people in the industry who not only, are willing to teach me, but who go to bat with me and make sure that, a simple example is I was 20 years old, my first day on a construction site, and nobody wants to listen to a 20-year-old on a construction site. Nobody. And I was 23 when I graduated, right? And to show up, I had, you still have responsibilities, and it's hard to get a seat at the table, let alone run a meeting with people who are so experienced. And I've had very, very, just the opportunities I've had for people who would sit and make sure that I got a chance to say what had to be said and to, follow through on that. That I would say that's pretty consistent in construction. And that I feel really fortunate about that, especially when I talk to my counterparts in teaching or accounting or other industries like that, where you have really it's set up that way. But I've never heard another instance of someone getting the kind of championship that I did here doing this.
From an industry perspective, that's fantastic to hear. There was a follow-up included to that question as well. And that follow-up is, those mentors, those champions have played such a big role in your career. Are you getting the chance now, as someone who's been in the industry a little bit longer, to mentor and champion for other people?
Yeah. And one of the cooler experiences as well, I just had my last co-op student was a young lady from Dalhousie who is doing her engineering. So she'd be, 8 years behind where I was. And her experience coming through is already in 8 years wildly different than mine. And good and bad. Like, there's challenges that I had that at the time you don't even notice. And looking back on, I didn't even really reflect on that until, we didn't pave the way for her by any means, but it was just a different experience. And that made me really happy, really encouraged. She and I ran a project, and we sat in a consultant client meeting where it was 10 people, all ladies, in a construction meeting. And no one noticed until we would know she was taking the notes, and she said, oh my gosh, we're all ladies here. And I said, 8 years ago, I would have gone a full year without going into a meeting with another woman in it.
Wow.
That's wild.
That is, on that note, and I think it's a fantastic note, and I agree from my experience in the industry, we are starting to see a shift towards more diversity, but there's certainly a lot of work left to be done, that's for sure. And I don't think it's inaccurate to still say it's a male-dominated industry. But we're constantly out, through the Building Futures programs and other initiatives where we get a chance to speak to young women who might be interested in careers in construction. What would you say to a young woman who was, maybe in high school and considering a career as a project manager or in the construction industry as a whole?
Yeah. I am really, really proud of how far we have come. I love working in this industry, and it is a rare day when I'm unhappy with an interaction with somebody, because I'm a woman. I'm very rare. And I had always, I don't think I was as worried as maybe, you could have been. But I can't think of one negative site interaction, that comes to mind. That's obviously hasn't affected me that much maybe, but, it's not the scary exclusive place anymore. It's not. It's salt of the earth, really good people in this industry. And I really feel that we're really lucky in that, in Nova Scotia especially. We have contractors who are, 70 working out of their trucks, who have been around doing this longer than any of us have been alive. And they're so excited about this new energy coming in. That's really the new theme in my experience is, new energy, new viewpoints, new ideas, new perspectives. We have new clients. We have new clients who are representing themselves on their own construction projects that never would have happened 20 years ago. And they're absolutely enabled to do that. And they're encouraged to. And, they get to go to meetings with contractors who are women. And, it's marketable. It's great.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And, I certainly mirrors my experience. When you say salt of the earth, that's the thing that comes to mind so frequently as well when speaking about the construction industry or ever being asked about the construction industry.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned, accountants, teachers, other occupations.
Without any experience in those industries, I should be very clear about. So, secondhand. Yeah.
The question that I usually like to ask in and around those occupations is actually, is on kind of the benefits side of things, because we're we're promoting careers in construction to young people as, really fantastic, viable career paths, which they absolutely are. In your experience, how do the benefits, specifically the salary, and not asking for numbers in any way, shape, or form, but how do the benefits of a construction project manager, how would those compare to that of, say, the salary of a teacher or, a firefighter, an accountant, some other kind of, more commonly known occupations?
Well, one thing that I understand about teaching, for instance, is that it's regulated. Engineering is as well, but teaching is the union. And so I understand if you're a teacher, there's brackets, right? And as you increase your education, you have slots like this. And I think there's pros and cons to that. Construction is just different, generally. And of course there's unionized trade contractors. It's a different story, but for my role, one thing that's better than that system for us is that we're very much merit-based. So if you are a truly excellent project manager, you'll make more money than, it's based on how good you are, what you do. And the other thing is I will continue to make more money throughout my career. So every year of experience that I add, it will be more marketable, and then we'll be able to negotiate for myself, more money. I shouldn't say every year. I hope it's every year. I hope, that's great. But typically, you don't have a bracket. You don't get to walk in and say, I'm a 10-year, therefore I'm in this bracket. It's, based on lots of different factors. I personally prefer that. I like knowing that. And there's a range. I think if you were and again, I speak as an engineer, so I would typically say, when, we talk about this all the time with tech exploration and that, I would typically say, you're starting out somewhere as a project coordinator. And I'm going to date myself too. This was 10 years ago. So, you start around 50,000 probably when you're coming out of school, which is fine. And, you make more and more and more and more as you move positions and things like that. So I wouldn't pretend to know what a top dog senior project manager is making right now, but I would imagine it's well over 100,000 a year.
Absolutely. Even at that kind of entry level, that's certainly still higher than the average annual salary of a Nova Scotian. So that's a reason to certainly consider a career in that occupation if someone wasn't.
Yeah. We're well paid, but we typically are salaried, and that would be very important as well to note. Similar to a teacher, actually, we do not get paid for how many hours we work, And I speak that's for Bird. I don't know if that's very different elsewhere, but I think that's typical.
My understanding it is as well.
So I've had multiple 60 and 70-hour weeks so far this year. There haven't been very many 30-hour weeks yet this year. I would say we work very hard for the money that we earn. Yeah.
Very cool. We've talked about this a little bit, and at the beginning, you actually, which I thought was really cool, you mentioned a project where you guys were actually doing kind of modular construction.
Yeah.
And that would be a great example of, can you tell me how has the industry changed in the time that you've been in it?
So like YouTube, crazy construction in China. And like, that's apparently the goal of what we're trying to do. I don't know. They have people over there putting up buildings in days. We're still a couple years for a big building over here. So we have a stacked modular division, and that's a great example of, huge technological advancement there of just the design of buildings is changing, so we can hopefully do them faster. And for a remote location like a Cowit, that's a project that would never have been able to be feasible there on that scale before this was an option, simply because you can't get construction materials there. So certainly we're adapting to, reach these areas that haven't received this kind of project before. We're becoming much more technologically advanced. And in that, we do a lot more 3D rendering work, BIM modeling. We have a department here, and our design department with that capability too. What that means is essentially we're modeling our projects in 3D and building a model for that so that we can picture exactly what's going together. Clients can see it. You can set it up so, you can build it in 3D, and a client can take their screen and look through it as though they're walking through their building without ever having broken ground. And the reason that we're doing that is because when we do it, we identify issues that haven't happened yet. So we avoid them if we can, or we find less expensive fixes unless you're standing right in front of it in construction. And hopefully we build what the client wants the first time, which the dream, that's the goal. So lots of things are happening. When I first started, I did just about everything we did. We wrote on a piece of paper and mailed it to somebody, or, mailed our checks and went to the client and picked up a check and deposited it in the bank kind of thing. And, things are changing.
That's interesting, because actually one of the things that I recall standing out to me about the Dalhousie Dentistry project was walking in there with students and seeing people, in this shell of building with an iPad. Looking at the 3D imaging. It was really cool.
Well, in that building, we spent quite a lot of money to do that. And up front, we took quite a lot of time up front. But I do think that that's one example where, myself and our project manager worked it out, is we took 2 months to do that model when we could have been installing pipe or other work. But we think we saved 3.5 to 4 months off the install because we were able to fabricate it properly the first time. And there was no space in that building. So we did not have any ability to, put things in wherever we felt like it. It had to be a perfect Tetris puzzle to fit. So it was, great decision in the end. I'm glad it worked out that way. Not take 2 months longer as well on the end of the pipe. But that's a great example of where we're going. And we've been using that quite a lot since too.
Very cool. It is almost 2:45, Jessica, and again, I want to be respectful of your time, though I think I could listen to you talk about your job for
I'm starting to get worried that I could talk about it for hours longer instead of just doing it. Yeah.
One, to kind of wrap us up a little bit, one question I've asked everyone who we talk to is, are there any funny, any strange, any interesting stories from your time in the construction industry that stand out?
There are thousands, construction is so funny. You're in so many, we've met thousands of people doing this by the time, we've been here for years. And there's lots of things I can say. I'm just off my top of my head of who's listening and what do I want to say on camera. So my favorite is when I first started my first job, after I graduated, I went to work at the Dell Dentistry Project, and my site superintendent, you would have met him when you were there, I think, Wayne Johnson.
I recall the name, yeah.
Yeah. I don't believe Wayne would sign on to the internet, so I'm going to tell this story and assume that he's never gonna see this. He'll be fine. So Wayne has been he's been in construction for 40 years. And this is his job, right? So a superintendent, they own the project essentially, and everybody reports to them. Whatever they say, you hop to it. And I came to be support to him as a coordinator on site. And we shared for 3 years, we shared a 40-foot long, 10-foot wide trailer. You would have seen that too there. Each of us had an office at either end. And my first day, I got there, and I can just kind of, in hindsight, picture what that would have looked like. So I show up, and Wayne's there, and I say, Wayne, I am so excited. I can't wait. I'm going to work so hard. You're going to be, they're going to be great. This is going to be awesome. And I have a very vivid memory of him going, yes, of course. Can't wait. And, you move on. And Wayne had a year after that, fast forward 1 year, and Wayne is one of my best friends, and outside of work too. He's the champion that I would say has been, one of the big foundations of what I've been able to do and learn in my job. And a year later, Wayne said to me, that first day, I did not think this was going to work. And when I heard that you were coming here to work here every day, I was thinking, no, there's no way it wouldn't work. Like a young lady on a site like this every day, and all the going ons, and, all the drama, like there's no room for that. And he says, I just wanted to say to you, how glad I am that I gave you a fair shot, and every fair chance to do it, because he did, and more than stood up for me all the time on that job. And we had just such a great team of contractors too, but that was all Wayne as well. Like, he kind of fosters that environment. But it was the first time it occurred to me how different that could have been if he had said no and thought that from the beginning. And I like to think of that every now and then, because, what an honest shot and effort. And he wasn't he didn't think it would work at all. And he did that for me. And I tease him about that all the time. Now, we've still worked together. So Wayne and I, that's been, years and years. We still work on projects together now. So it's a success story, but that one is kind of funny to me.
That's awesome. That's a great story. I lied. I am going to ask you one more question. And really just, one last kind of piece of advice for any young people, I shouldn't say just young people, anyone considering a career in construction project management.
I truly think that we have the best job. I do. I don't know if there's a more fun industry to work in than construction. We work really hard. We have a lot of fun doing it too. And, it's such a great career. You can do so much with it, and really you can't beat the experience. Like, if you do construction for 6 months, I truly think it's like working somewhere else in another industry for 5 years. You'll do so much. It's a great industry and career to think about.
Excellent. Well, that's awesome, Jessica. It really is. And I want to thank you again for making some time for us this afternoon. Your passion for what you do, it really comes across. And I think that's fantastic. And I'm glad that so many people got to see it. And I'm glad other people are going to get a chance to watch this after the fact as well. So
thank you for the invite. Yeah, have fun.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Jessica. I want to say thank you as well to Bird, obviously, for supporting you and for supporting this as well, and making and allowing the time. Anyone else who's watching who might not have got to ask a question that they wanted to, or may even leave here and think, oh shoot, I wish I would have asked this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can get all my contact information on either the CANS website or the Building Futures for Youth website, and I will connect with Jessica on your behalf, and we'll get back to you with answers or information that you may be looking for. So again, thank you very much, Jessica. Anyone who is interested in seeing this again, please visit our website, www.buildingfutures.ca, where you can see this session as well as all previous sessions recorded. And keep an eye out as well for information for next week's session, same day and time. Thank you very much, Jessica.
See you later.
Have a great day.
You too.